No idea that Dr. Umar Johnson and Jesse Lee Peterson on the same panel going at each other with Umar calling Jesse Lee Peterson a coon and Jesse Lee Peterson calling him a beta male. It went down that hard. This YouTube gold has just been sitting there lying dormant all this time, and I didn't know. I discovered it by accident. One of the blogging sites put it up, and I was like, oh. They posted a little clip of it, and I was like, oh, this is good. So I went and found the full video. It's an hour-long video, and yeah, we're gonna live react to that because it is just gold. It is gold. But let's get ready to go. Let's get it.
Welcome to Machismo TV, the ultimate destination for modern men seeking to upgrade their lifestyle. Subscribe to Machismo TV and Saul T-Balls. We stream daily from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the best male-centric content. Highlight reels without reviewing or providing any editorial bias to the content. We have done so much, with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything, with nothing.
Peace, folks. This is X from TPOT Media. Open your mind and wake your black ass up. You know what time it is. Hit that damn like button as you make your way in the door. Grab a seat, settle in, get ready. It's the Grown Man Hour with your host, my man, Bernard Riley.
Let's get it. I see y'all already in here. What's up? Salute to everybody. Let's get
Welcome to Machismo TV, the ultimate destination for modern men seeking to upgrade their lifestyle. Subscribe to Machismo TV and Saul T-Balls. We stream daily from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the best male-centric content. Highlight reels without reviewing or providing any editorial bias to the content. We have done so much, with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything, with nothing.
All right, we've done so much with so little for so long. We are now qualified to do anything with nothing. Shout out to Machismo TV. The link should be circulating through the chat room pretty soon. And shout out off the top ropes out the gate. My mouse is acting up so I can just barely click on it. Salty Balls in here. Off the top rope with it. Shout out to Salty Balls.
Ooh, suck on my chocolate salty balls. Put them in your mouth. Put them in your mouth and suck them and suck them.
All right. Shout out. Salute to everybody in the building. Sorry for the stumble out the gate. Get one thing right here. Okay, boom. All right, had to do that real quick. Had to do that. All right. Thank you to Salty Balls. Make sure y'all go over there and subscribe to Machismo TV. Shout out to everybody in the building. Shout out to each and every one of you. Shout out to Osama Abdul. He said Umar and Jesse Peterson have a recent collab. No, this is an oldie but a goodie. I said Umar is getting popular enough. Shout out to Laughing Dog. Says Umar getting popular enough for them to start requiring purses and skirts like they do to the Hollywood, NBA, MLB, and NFL bros. I don't even know what you're talking about. And Perry in the building. Shout out to you. Deion Davis in the building. Winthrop in the building. Domino King says B1 family from Funky Town, Texas. Absolutely. What's up? Salute. Shout out to you. Welcome aboard. JC the Conqueror in the building. Link in the building. Salty Balls, as I already acknowledged. Who else we got in here? Roderick Beasley in the building. Ray Loof. And what does that say? Mistray Nigma. I think I said that right. And the ghetto conservative. We've heard of the street conservative. We've heard of the hood conservative, but never the ghetto conservative. That is a new one. My friend. You're an originator. No, I'm dead serious. Nobody ever has went with the name ghetto conservative. Because most conservative, upstanding Negroes don't want to call themselves ghetto. They'll call themselves, hood. I'm conservative, but I'm from the hood. I'm conservative, but I'm from the streets. Never ghetto conservative. That is a new thing. But we about to dig right into this. We are about to dig right into this thing. This happened on Fox Soul, home of the same place where Umar went up there and had an entanglement with a trans gentleman. Yeah, that's what I get for shaving a little bit before the show. Had an entanglement with a trans gentleman by the name of Hope Gazelle, who he didn't know that he was talking to a man. Allegedly. He allegedly didn't know. I believe he didn't know, but either way it go, nonetheless, he was calling Hope a beautiful black woman. He's calling Hope a biological male and Cynthia G beautiful black women. Beautiful black queens, black princesses. He was doing that. That was happening. I felt like Umar was ambushed. They set him up in there, talking about black stuff mixed with, black male, black female dynamics. They just stuck a trans woman, a biological male, into the chair, and he just speaking to him as if it was a woman. They ambushed him. Apparently Umar get ambushed a lot when he go on Fox Soul. Because they set him up. He went on there, and the good Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson was on there. And all this time, I never knew that the two of them ever was in a room together. I never knew that the two of them had any interaction ever. I didn't know this all this time. Stay on YouTube. Never knew. And it was good. It was good to the point of Jesse Lee Peterson. I got to stick with me because I got to get to the part. But it was good to the point where Jesse Lee Peterson was literally calling, while Dr. Umar was getting mad, calling Jesse Lee Peterson a coon. Jesse Lee Peterson was straight calling him calling Umar
But he
Beta!
out of the race. Oh no.
Beta male.
Like that was literally happening. It was so good. It was just comedic gold. It was everything. I didn't know that this happened. Some of you probably have seen it. It's been in the archives for a minute, but I had no idea. So needless to say, this is new to me. It may not be new to you. Who's ever to say he didn't know either? Okay, this ain't okay. Some of y'all this may not be new to. This is new to me. So we about to enjoy this like it happened yesterday. I don't care. So let's strap on in. Let's get it.
Have been accused of selling out for financial gain, political advantages, and even for some Black are sellouts. And who better to have this spirited conversation with than guests that I personally enjoy? Please welcome author and activist Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson. Hi, Reverend Peterson. How you doing?
Hi, hey, Tammy. All is well. Thanks for having me on.
Dr.
Now this is Umar and Jesse Lee Peterson. They're having a discussion about the concept of a sellout, whether or not Black people should care about the term sellout, or, because they be care if they're even called to sellout. Like, we got Umar and Jesse Lee Peterson debating that one. It don't get better. It don't get better. I'm so mad that this just lied dormant for so long without me knowing that it happened.
Of clinical psychology, Dr. Umar Johnson is with us. Dr. Umar, hey.
Good evening, Queen. Glad to be with you.
And the president of the African History.
Now, y'all see how he just said, "Good evening, Queen. Glad to be with you." That's the same type of, universal. If you're a Black woman, you get called the Queen. Energy that he had when they ambushed him with the trans gentleman, Hope Gazelle, that was on there, had him calling her a beautiful queen. I said it then, I say it now. If there's ever a time to pump the brakes on calling all women beautiful and calling all women queens, now is the time. In the trans era. Now is the time to pump the brakes on that. But Umar ain't gonna learn.
Network, Michael Imhotep. Hi, Michael. How are you tonight?
How you doing, Miss Tammy Mac? Thanks for having me back.
I'm doing absolutely wonderful.
The light-skinned brother on the right is just in the way. He just be there getting in the way of Umar and Jesse Lee Peterson. So I'm mad that he even there. They didn't need him.
Wonderful, and it's lovely to see your face on this show. So thank you.
Thank you.
Why is the question I start with on the Tammy Mac show every night, and tonight is no different. Why should Black people care if they're a sellout or not? I'll give it to you first, Michael.
Why should Black people? You're talking about the individual person. Why should they care?
The individual.
I'm going to be skipping when he talk. No disrespect to him, but I mean we know what we're here for. We know what we're here for.
Person
first, the key for of those to the collective of a need of a you. What you can send
sellout.
Well,
Jesse.
Karma. What goes around comes around.
Yeah. All right. Reverend Jesse, why should Black people care about the word sellout?
Well, in reality, there's no such thing as sellout. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It's a warfare between good and evil. And within the Black people, most Black people today are in a fallen state. They don't know God. They don't have love. They come from screwed up families, so they're very angry. And in their state of anger, they're very judgmental because they have a big pride about them, which is the nature of Satan. And so when other Blacks overcome that fallen state and return to what is right and love what is right and love God with all their heart, soul, and might, and their neighbor as themselves, the Blacks who are in a fallen state cannot handle that because they're very judgmental. And what they try to do in their state of evil, they try to keep other Black men and women down because they hate good. And if you notice, Tammy,
he went on Fox Soul, one of the most blackity-black channels on there, just straight calling them niggas evil. Because this is a place where the people get called sellouts all the time. He just came right in and said, because y'all are evil. And y'all hate that when other Black people rise from that rise from that evilness that y'all are inflicted with, and y'all try to pull them back down. You know, shit like that automatically got Umar's blood boiling.
Most Black people today don't believe in God. Most of them are evil and they hate good. And that's what the primary state is. So they'll blame somebody else for their problems rather than facing them themselves. And you can always tell a man or a woman who is in a fallen state, they blame everybody else for their failures. And most Black people are doing that today.
Dr. Umar, sellout.
I would say that when you deal with the concept of the sellout, you have to deal with it within the context of post-traumatic slavery disease.
Oh, shit.
I always say that the Negro is one of the great.
Now, after y'all listen to what Jesse Lee Peterson just said, and Umar Johnson led off with post-traumatic slavery disease, you already know what kind of conversation this is about to be. You already know Jesse Lee Peterson about to be getting called all kinds of coons. He about to be, and Jesse gonna be calling them niggas weak and some betas, and men shouldn't be complaining like that. It's about to get good.
Greatest creations of the modern era, because the Negro, traumatic slavery disease. I always say that the Negro is one of the greatest creations of the modern era, because the Negro is the only organism that will work against its own best interests without being paid to do so. And when we deal with the politics of selling out, we have to recognize that selling out is extremely accepted in the Black community, because the Black community has never created a code of conduct for its members. Every other culture, although they are not monolithic,
the Black community has never created a code of conduct for its members. Okay, Umar. Okay, we got you. Okay, hold on. That's you and Suki Hana. The Black community has never created a code of conduct for its members. That's you and Suki Hana booed up. All right. So you're right, but you don't realize, apparently don't realize that you're talking about your damn self. So let's get that out there. Let's get that out there, you know.
they do not live in a utopia, but they do have a code of conduct. We have never created such a code in the modern era. And because we haven't created a code, a lot of people can ignore the accusation that they have sold out.
But when the most woke, most pro-Black person who's talking about a code can give a stamp of approval to somebody who does the most to make Black women and by extension Black people look like trash, when you can approve that and then still be the person talking about sellouts, and it's easy to sell out because nobody creates a code, but you're the arbiter of the code of this Blackness, and the judge, jury, and executioner of who's a sellout and who ain't. But you all right with that? So it's like, niggas. And that's why, even though Jesse Lee Peterson be trolling, Jesse Lee Peterson will drop some truth bombs in the most trolling way possible. And so this conversation is going to get funny as hell. But it's like the people who want to uphold so much shit be the main ones that don't uphold nothing. They speak to upholding things, but they don't uphold nothing. Jesse Lee Peterson, who just then abandoned the whole ship, accurately describes what the problem is, but he do it in such a trolling way to where it's not even possible that they're going to receive it.
Because every person has their own definition, which is based on their own personal commitment to the Black community. So, for example, to Dr. Umar Johnson, if you date outside of your race, you're a sellout, because protecting and maintaining the traditional Black family, in my opinion, is something that all of us should be in the business of doing. But for the next person, dating outside of your race may be accepted. Some people would see a Black person worshiping an image of Jesus as a white man as clearly being indicative of selling out. But someone else would say there's nothing wrong with worshiping Jesus in the image of your oppressor. And so we have different levels of commitment to the Black community, and those different levels of commitment, Tammy, dictate how high of a bar we set for one another.
So we don't have a code. The Black community has not designated a code that keeps us, I guess, not selling out. Speaking of sellout, let's make sure that we're working on the same definition of a sellout here. So, Reverend Jesse, you say that there's no such thing as a sellout, but you can admit that the word sellout does exist and that it is used, right?
Yeah, it is used, just like the word racism. We all know that there's no such thing as racism. It's a word that made up to deceive the blind. And so when they use the word sellout, it's meant to divide and conquer. But if you're not in a fallen state, meaning that Satan is not your daddy, you can see the game that's being played. Like Dr. Umar just said, he just spoke as a blind man. He has no idea what he's talking about, because there's no such thing as slavery syndrome or whatever he said. Our battle is a spiritual battle. It's either right or wrong, good or evil. And in the good old days, when boys were boys and men were men, men knew that, and they led their wives and children in the right way to go. And they did have a conduct of morality. They treated everyone they would like in the way that they would like to be treated, never mind the color. They taught their children how to work and be responsible and not blame and whine. And they didn't put it out there as though they couldn't make it. Dr. Umar Johnson just made up words.
He said Dr. Umar Johnson just made up words, and I done forgot already. What did he come out the gate calling him? Hold on. He came right out the gate swinging at Umar. Like, you could see what Jesse came in there on a mission.
You can see the game that's being played in the fall. You know what he's talking about. Yeah, he just spoke as a seeded game that's being played. Like Dr. Umar just said, he just spoke as a blind man. He has no idea what he's talking about. Because
he came out right out the gate called Umar came right out the gate called Umar a blind man. Just taking shots out the gate.
Saying you know it all, and anyone else on the panel knows less. That's a little unfair.
Yeah, well, I may not know my flowers, but I know Dr. Umar Johnson is blind and that he's wrong. And he doesn't know God. So he's telling people words, fancy words, in order to deceive them. If you knew that our battle is a battle between good and evil, then you wouldn't make up words in order to deceive. You would tell the truth and hope that those who are blind may wake up and see the right way to go. I grew up on a plantation down in Alabama under the Jim Crow law. And back then, black people—
were no slaves on that plantation?
Well, yeah, they had, as a matter of fact, my grandparents' parents ran the plantation, but they weren't slaves when I was growing up. And the point is, black people had a sense of morality then, and they love what—
Okay, I don't want to think that she's that stupid that when he said he grew up on a plantation that she actually believed he was alive in 1864. Because she said, and there were no slaves on the plantation. Of course it wasn't slaves on the plantation. Now, again, that's where Jesse kind of lightweight trolling, because I don't think they really I don't know if they called them plantations after, slavery. There was still, just the history to some of y'all don't know. They called, I guess they could call it diet slavery. It was sharecropping, which, the pro-blackity blacks will say, oh, that was worse than slavery, but it wasn't. But it was basically, cotton needed to get picked and fields still needed to be worked, and black folks still did it. They just weren't owned as property but they were sharecroppers, and it was a really shitty deal. But that's more or less what he's talking about. Where he lived, it was it was a plantation, and then it was just a property. His family worked it, and owned the land and worked the land. But he called it a plantation just to trigger them niggas. That's what he doing.
What was right? They worked hard. They loved their country. They didn't blame because the men were leading the way.
Hold that thought, Reverend Jesse.
Now the
Hold
black
that
men
thought.
saw
Hold
like
that
women.
thought. Hold that thought, Reverend Jesse. Dr. Umar, go ahead. I don't want him to bring your name up and not allow you to respond.
It's so.
And shout out to the passport OG. I have no idea what that is. Whatever you just sent with that super sticker, I cannot tell. I do not know what. Thank you. Whatever the amount, I do appreciate it, but I have no idea what that is, and I'm not even in position to look it up. Somebody said it's yen. Okay. I don't know how to translate that to dollars. Okay, the passport bros in the building letting me know that's yen. One of y'all translate it for me. I have no idea. But all right, let's get on into it. Let's get on into it.
Okay, I had been on Reverend Jesse's show before, and they have been trying diligently to have me come back. And one of the reasons I did not return to the show is because I believe that
Appreciate it.
Jesse Lee Peterson knows better. In fact, he would be a textbook definition of a sellout, because he is the type of black man who will bend over backwards to absolve the American white power structure of any.
See, Game Changer just said plantation is a place like a farm, but and Jesse Lee Peterson know what black people think when we hear plantation. So pre 1865, it was a plantation. Post 1865, it was a farm. That's how black people look at it. But Jesse Lee Peterson, like, no, I'm gonna call that shit a plantation on Fox Soul just to trigger you niggas. That's what Jesse Lee Peterson is doing.
Responsibility for what happens to black people. And like many sellouts, they always ignore or they try people. Type of black man who will bend over backwards to absolve the American white power structure of any responsibility for what happens to black people. And like many sellouts, they always ignore or they try to retreat away from acknowledging the role that systemic racism plays in the life of black people. Racism.
All right, I'm guilty as charged. I'm a sellout by Umar's definition. And I accept that, because I do think black people need to get away from spending an inordinate amount of time talking about the role that the governmental structure in this country, which they would call white supremacy, is hurting, harming, and affecting black people. It's like, that's fighting the old war. There are political wins that black people legitimately could fight for and should fight for and everything, but overall, no. I've said it once, I said it again. My issue with the pro blacks who wear the banner, who got the red, black, and green in the black background, like y'all can see Umar right now. They spend the majority of their time, the vast majority of their time, bitching and complaining about white people, and then trying to spray perfume and cologne over all the shit in the black community while fucking Sukihana. That's what pro blacks do. All right. That last one was personal towards Umar, but all that applies to him. So it's like, forgive me for thinking differently from how most pro blacks operate. If that put me in the group, that put me in the sellout bag, then I'll be the sellout. I'll be the sellout. But even though Jesse Lee Peterson is putting it in a way that triggers the shit out of them, what he's saying is right. They quite often, like, put it like this: if they there are probably certain people who you could reserve that type of thing to, because I'm sure that there are certain black people who are successful and they've made it and they're in cahoots with the white society, but while in white society, they're not just, living their life and being happy and thriving and flourishing, living the American dream. Any chance they get, they will have the crab in a barrel. They'll get on the I gotta be the only black person in this room type of shit. A lot of people see that when they start, moving up in place. There'll be a black person in position to do the hiring, and they'll give another black person a third degree in an interview and try to trip them up and fuck them up and make them look bad in front of the white folks. It's some black people that you could call, that you could say, yeah, you want some bullshit. You want some crab in the barrel bullshit. It's some black people you could give that to, but when they give it, when they throw out that word sellout, they reserve it for anybody who don't think exactly like them, who don't agree with them on all of their pro blackity black shit. They throw it out indiscriminately, and sometimes they'll throw it out on certain black people just because a black person can just be making it in America, and he just don't subscribe to a lot of the pro blackity black lingo, and he think that, hey, more black people can make it if they roll their sleeves up, work hard, get a plan, have some delayed gratification, plot, plan, strategize, execute, and go out and do. If the black person who thinks like that will get called a sellout to them. So no, that's why I was like, when they're talking, I'll be the sellout. I'll happily be the sellout.
Many sellouts, they always ignore, or they try to retreat away from acknowledging the role that systemic racism plays in the life of Black people. Racism is not only about the individual mistreatment of Black people, it is about the systemic mistreatment of Black people. See, racism is a system that all white people participate in to disadvantage all members of another group. So you don't opt in, you don't.
Now you notice this is where the overreach comes in. He said racism is, I'm gonna rewind it, make sure we get it right. Let me put my phone on the charger real quick. He said all white people participate in it. All of them? Even Trailer Park Joe Smo? Or like he used the word all. Like, everybody know you don't use all. Everybody knows that. All right. Like, off the bat, you do not use the term all ever. He just said all. We got to do a very brief break into action to acknowledge the good Deacon Salty Balls again just dropped something hard and heavy on the Cashapp. I got to make a special 75 bomb explosion. I don't got one, so I had to do the 50, the 20, then the 5. Because my man Deacon Salty Balls just dropped $75 on the Cashapp. Greatly appreciate that. Greatly appreciate that. Greatly appreciate that. I don't got RM in the back right now to put the contributors up in lights up there, but she'll probably be here. I started at my old start time today. I got up early. Well, I'm always up, but I got started early. But shout out to Osama Abdu as well. He says, if you look at Umar for purely entertainment / comedic purposes, he's extremely entertaining and hilarious. He's an entertainer and foremost, period. I generally agree with you on that, but people do view him as a public intellectual. I kind of put Jesse Lee Peterson in more or less in the same category, where he's an entertainer too. It just, in the midst of his entertaining trolling, he drop a lot of truth bombs that black people ain't ready to even deal with or look at. So but I think both of them do have a niche in saying some, in Umar's case, some things that sound smart and that sound like it might make sense, but to me, when you pick apart some of it, most of it, it don't. Jesse Lee Peterson, has the same niche of saying things that, actually make sense. Jesse Lee Peterson actually says some stuff that makes sense. It's just that he can't he just got too much troll in his blood. He can't help. It's like he wake up every morning and just wash his face, brush his teeth, crack his knuckles, and be like, how am I going to trigger niggas today? That's what Jesse Lee Peterson wake up every morning and do. But in the midst of all this trolling and all this shit that he's saying, it do be some hard truth bombs that black folks don't want to deal with.
Don't opt out, and members of the target group don't opt in.
Let me back up. Let me back up to where he said all white people participate in this thing. Hold on.
This treatment of black people. See, racism is a system that all white people participate in to disadvantage all members of another group. So you don't opt in.
And this is where they lose me. It's like, if it's a system, if you're talking about a system, you're talking about something that's coming from that comes from the top down. If it's coming from the top and it's being, trickled down, it's difficult to say all white people participate in it. Because they're gonna ask the question: are you selling out if you're working for white companies? If you're working for white people, okay, does the white person who hires a black person, is he participating in that system? Because it seems like if he was participating in the system, he just wouldn't hire that black person, and then black people would be forced to do what they did, post civil rights movement, post Civil Rights Act and legislation, where they had to build their own businesses and work for themselves and employ themselves and do a lot of stuff that made sense, that Jesse Lee Peterson is going to be talking about. It's like you would end up in that situation if they all were working in it. But that's what I say. The whole pro-black game is to, criticize, talk shit, complain about white people, and spray perfume and cologne over all the shit in the black community, or all the shit, the stench, the shit that black people do. But all right, let's go.
And you don't opt out. And members of the target group don't opt in or opt out. But what they can do, as Jesse Lee Peterson has so effectively done in his career, is they can identify with the power structure. They can identify with white racism, and they can carve out a niche for themselves by defending the racism that is attacking black people, as opposed to defending black people against that racism. A black man in America who does not stand up for his people and in turn aligns himself with the structure that is eating away at the opportunities of black people can go very far in this country. Senator Tim Scott is an example. Jesse Lee Peterson is an example. And we will continue to create these types of personalities, Sister Tammy, if we don't come up with the code, and if the black community doesn't start holding its members accountable for dysfunctional behavior.
We're going to take a quick break and come right back on the Tammy.
I know I'm being petty, but whenever Umar says something along the lines of, and we're not going to come up or do better until we start holding our people accountable for dysfunctional behavior, I can't help but click on this picture. I can't help but click on that picture of him and Sukihana. He's talking about holding our people accountable for dysfunctional behavior. Nigga, you booed up with Sukihana, the ass-eating chick, the chick who's famous for eating ass. All right, Umar. All right. We gotta hold our fellow brothers and sisters accountable.
Mac Late Show on Fox Soul.
What's it
The conversation
trying to do?
everyone.
Heartbeat is like this.
Let's skip ahead.
Oh, boys, sorry, bro, I played it for so and so, and everybody just keeps saying
actual commercials and shit going on. All right, we back in it.
Tonight, the business of being Black are sellouts. Are you a sellout? Is there such thing as a sellout? Let's go to the chat and find out what they're saying. Maya Magahi says, this panel is lit. Hakai says, queen. Joy says, hey, y'all, I'm sorry. I got consumed at work, but I'm here now.
Hey, the person who said, Link said she was scaring all the white people in the UK. Yeah, she was, Sukiana was out there about to get my coochie stretched. There was some white people that looked like they just got done having tea and crumpets with the queen, and she just out there in front of them about to get my coochie stretched and eat a nigga ass. I was like, God damn. Like, that shit was the worst. Like, no code of conduct. That's what no code of conduct looked like, Umar.
And happy to be. Incog says, Dr. Umar Johnson, it's about to be lit tonight. And then, hold on here. Where are we? Don Morris says, Jassy. That's how it's written. That's how I'm saying it. And then our soulmate says, all your skin folk ain't your kinfolk. And then Keep Me Lovely says, imagine asking a white person, why should you care about this word? Hashtag not for sale. That because people have and words. Always in contradiction. Sellout refers to Harvard law
had to skip a little bit.
Professor and author Randall L. Kennedy. The term sellout refers to Black people who knowingly or with gross negligence act against the interests of Blacks as a whole. Do you believe that those people exist?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, they exist. I was reading some of Randall Kennedy's work earlier today. Yeah, absolutely, they exist. That's what I was talking about. Those who knowingly, there's a difference between somebody who makes a mistake and doesn't know better. You share information with them, they correct their behavior. There's a difference between that and people who actually.
Shout out to Link, says for the share. Absolutely, shout out to you. Thank you, my friend, for putting. Where is it? Wait for it. Thank you for putting 5 on it.
Actually knowingly do it to profit.
I'm gonna skip this dude. We ain't here for that. No disrespect. Intelligent brother, but we here to see Umar and Jesse Lee Peterson go back and forth.
Do you think the term is so loaded in the Black community?
Well, I think, Dr. Umar hit on something, and slavery is because they are IPs, our values, reality, ethnic groups, certain extent, that gives us in certain aspects of them. Yeah.
We got soulmates in the chat for you. One from None says, Jesse holds Black people accountable. But Deja E says, Reverend Jesse claims folks don't know God, but he sounds the most judgmental and hypocritical than anybody. What do you say to that? I guess she's saying hypocritical in a sense of, you say you were raised on a plantation, or your parents were raised on a plantation, but how can a plantation exist if there were no slaves? So that in itself would be.
Yeah. See what I mean when we were talking about how it's still technically a plantation, but Black people only view it as a plantation if it was post pre 1865. Anything during the Reconstruction, it's no, it's not a plantation. It's only a plantation if slaves are on it. That's why Jesse keep triggering them, saying I grew up on a plantation. Yeah, I wasn't wrong. I know Black people. The differences between a plantation and a farm is minimal at best, if any distinction. But don't call it a plantation. We get emotional. We have slavery hot flashes and shit. Like, don't call it a plantation. It's a farm.
kind of incongruent or hypocritical. What do you say to that?
Once upon a time, there were slaves in America. That is not happening today, and it wasn't happening when I was growing up in Alabama. This idea that slavery is the cause of the lack of morality for Black people is insane. It's just another sign of an illogical mindset. Because when I was growing up, the bathroom was outdoors, outside bathroom. I had to work the cotton fields and things like that. But it was the character of the man or the woman that counted. And when I was growing up, Black people at that time were known to be men and women of character. Today, Black people, not all, but most, are known to be men and women who...
You kill me with that. Not all, but 99.99999% of you niggas.
Black character. The world know that Black people are suffering not because of this phony idea of racism, slavery, systemic racism, and all that crap. They know that Black people are immoral, that they come from failing parents, and that they hate everybody, and they have no love.
But
Everybody
that's not your story,
it,
is it,
but
Reverend?
they're afraid to tell the Blacks.
That's not your story, is it, Reverend Jesse? Is that your story?
No, because I was raised differently. I was raised to treat all in the way that I would like to be treated, to be fair and to be honest, because you're either children of God or children of Satan, and it has nothing to do with the color. And the children of God cannot hang out with the children of Satan because they have their hearts are wicked and they have illogical mindset. The two men that just spoke, it made no sense.
But so I'd like for you to teach me.
Don't cut him off. He's trying to take shots. Don't get in the way.
Because they have their hearts are wicked and they have illogical mindset. The two men that just spoke, it made no sense.
But so I'd like for you to teach me.
They don't have a logic.
Reverend Jesse, I would like for you to teach me for a moment here.
Yes.
Please break me away from tradition and what I've been taught in the white schools that I've attended that suggest that there was this society in America that wouldn't allow white people and Black people to drink from the water fountains. Did the white institutions I attend teach me that wrong, or was that correct? I'm ready to learn from you.
Well, as a matter of fact, when I was growing up, I remember the colors only signs and the whites only signs. But because most Black people loved what was right, they loved God, they knew that all white people did not feel that way. It was primarily the white people who belonged to the Democratic Party, and they didn't want Blacks to be a part of the Democratic Party. And so that's why the Blacks started the Republican Party, because the Blacks. So when we dealt with for Black only signs, for white only, common sense said it wasn't everybody. It was those who serve evil.
But it was majority of the white people. We can agree with that.
No,
right?
It wasn't the majority of Black people. It was a few.
I said majority people. Of the white people.
I'm sorry?
Let's get back on to sellouts. Dr.
Yeah, see, that part is a pointless argument there. I mean, that's where Jesse Lee Peterson, he'll go down a rabbit hole. And maybe there are people who could argue, okay, it wasn't the majority of white people that was okay with it. Clearly, you go back far enough, that number would probably fall closer to the majority, if not the majority. And it's parsing at nothing. It's grasping at straws, how much of it came from the top down. I mean, if it was the law, clearly, people from the top, down, implemented the Jim Crow laws or whatever. So it's like, why even go down that route? Maybe it was more white people than what we think that on the ground, the people at the grassroots. Maybe it was more than we thought that was, not okay with it. Clearly, once you get closer to 1965, a higher percentage of white people were not okay with it. So it all depends on how far back you go, and it's just pointless. It's pointless. It's fighting over inches at that point. It's irrelevant. It was Jim Crow laws. It don't matter if the majority of white people thought it was a law in this country. So that's where Jesse Lee Peterson troll and just go down a route where I'm like, come on, Jesse, what's the point? What's the point? That's probably one of my biggest gripes with Jesse Lee Peterson, where I just had to say, okay, he funny and he an entertainer, but it's pointless to go down that route to me. There are probably some people who could, intellectually make that argument, maybe, but I don't really give a shit. If it was Jim Crow laws, it was Jim Crow laws. Once post slavery, you can make that's when you can make a clear, concise case that the country was structurally racist. There's no point to even argue that. But before I even get further upfield with that one, shout out to SKC. He says, "Who has done more for blacks, Jesse or Umar?" Well, the problem with that, what's embedded in that question, is the fact that Umar is supposed to be the one doing it. I shouldn't even have to think about it. It should be a quick, easy answer. The quick, easy answer should be Umar, but now I got to sit here and think, okay, what have you done other than give some riveting speeches? Okay, so that's the fucked up part about that. But understand the point. Understand the point. Jamar81 with the $5 super sticker. Shout out to you. And I think that's everybody. Hold on, wait, I gotta get Danny Nightblade 45 in the building. He says, how could you sell out your race when there are no rules for how to be black? Who died and made Umar Johnson the emperor of the black race? Point well taken and agreed with. How could he talk about anybody selling out races? Or just to quote him again, he said we need to develop and establish a code of conduct. Whenever he mentions that, I will be bringing up a picture of him and Sukihana, who he clearly approves, who has the worst code of conduct and operating procedures as any woman walking the earth right now. So there's that. All right. Let me get back into it. RM is in the back. Can you see all the starred super chats? Let me know if you could see them or not. And Salty Balls did send the $75 cash app. So when you put the contributors up top, just remember to just include that one cash app. Oh, you can see them. Okay, good. So now you can put everybody up top. And when you put them up top, make them big enough to just cover the whole part with my logo, because I'll drop my logo once you make it. So you could just put it all right there instead of the logo being right there, if you understand what I'm getting at. But all right. Let's go. Let's get back into it. All right.
Umar.
Yes, ma'am. And I would like to respond to him, if I may, Sister
And it
Tammy.
wasn't a majority of whites.
Thank you. Go ahead, Dr.
I want to clarify something when we talk about racism. Racism is not an individual personality fault.
It doesn't exist, man.
Racism is not about individual personality. Racism is about systemic injustice, systemic bias.
But then why did he earlier say that all white people participate in it? All white people do not run a system, do not influence a system, do not dictate a system. So that's the problem that I always have. And I've had these conversations with a lot of people on my show when they say that, racism is an individual. They say that because they want to basically say that black people can't be racist. You have to have power and be in position. It has to come from a top-down position in order for it to be racist. And that's what he's arguing for right now. But he previously just said literally all white people participate in it. The only way that could be the case if you view all white people as all powerful or in some type of power position, which means that you think that white people there's something in you to where you have to be thinking that white people are inherently superior, to where you could see Joe Dirt and think that he's lording some type of racism over you, and you're a successful black man who makes more money than him. Umar might be a millionaire for all I know. Joe Dirt in the trailer, in his mind, has power over him. Like when you follow that logic all the way home, Umar is a white supremacist because he clearly thinks white people, every individual white person is somehow superior in some kind of way if they could be dirt poor, but he views them in some power position off just the strength of them being white. Where you have created more opportunities for yourself than what poor Joe Dirt could ever, do. And like that's just part of the problem, and just in how black people think in this country. All right, let's go.
Systemic disproportionality, systemic discrimination. You do not opt out of racism.
Dumb.
All white people benefit from and participate in racism. So whether your ancestors owned black people or not is irrelevant. And the reason it is irrelevant, Sister Tammy, is because even if your ancestors didn't own black.
Now, you can make a case. That's where I'll be trying to steal, man, people arguments so we can have a good discussion. I can't even make the case that they all benefit from it. I can't make that case. I will say this: strong culture ultimately can create more opportunities for the individuals within it. Like that's the thing. It's like I don't see where the system is creating it more so than I see decisions that people make creating it. Like people getting married and working together and building families and making good decisions, like the simple good decision of taking care of your credit, buying a house, you pay your house off, now you own this $400,000 house. That's where the net worth discrepancy and difference is at between white people and black people, and more businesses and more businesses, more jobs, more people making more money, and then making good decisions with that money that ultimately results in better opportunities being created and more nepotism and all of that and everything. There are advantages to being white, but a lot of those advantages, to me, they don't boil down to racism and lording over black people, but more so like a good culture. Like Asians, they have a good, strong culture for which they, create and facilitate more opportunities. So there's advantages to being Asian. It's more so like that. It's more so, the self-preservation of your group. Black people, talk about the word collective the most, but operate in it the least, in my opinion. Because you can't tell me the Jews don't think like a collective. Like if you got a Jewish lawyer and then you just casually mention that, okay, you got some problem with something else, which I don't know, whatever with something else you may need, he'll refer you to a Jewish guy that does that, and that Jewish guy refer you to another Jewish guy that does that. They'll try to keep all your money within their community. So I mean, it's like, so yes, there's nepotism and self-preservation that goes on with all groups, and I view it more like black people losing at that game more so than some powerful white boot on a neck. That's how I view it.
Black people, they worked at a job that was created because of the enslavement of black people. So there's no such thing as slavery did not impact my family.
All right, RM, make that, hold on real quick. Make that bigger, because I'm gonna get rid of that altogether. So like you got that much. Yes, look how much, that's how much real estate you got. I'm gonna move that all together, and you could just put it all right there in that black space. So yeah, go ahead and make that bigger. All right. So when you make it bigger, I just get rid of the banner altogether. But all right, let's go.
Just like in today's America, all white people benefit from the mass incarceration of Black people. They benefit from the miseducation of Black children. They benefit from the police brutality against Black people. So I want to make sure we are clear.
What you're saying
Racism is not about individual white people choosing to hate Blacks. Racism is about the system of racism that controls opportunities and resources, Sister Tammy.
It's worse than that. Poseidon MGTOW. It's actually worse than that. I was the one interaction I ever had with Cynthia G. I've never been on a panel with her or nothing like that. Never talked to her directly. But I was in the chat room. This was before I even had a channel. This is the one interaction I ever had with her. She was going off ranting, and she said the least powerful white man in this country is more powerful than the most powerful Black man. And so I just typed in the chat and asked. I said, so you're saying that a Domino's pizza delivery boy, I said, so you're saying a part-time Domino's pizza delivery boy who lives in his grandmama's basement has more power than Robert Smith, a Black billionaire who I think he's up to 8.8 billion last I checked, maybe 10 billion by now. I don't know, something like that. I put that question right directly to her, and she quadrupled down and said yes, a firm, hard yes. So when you say, so the white guy outside 7-Eleven spare changing is more powerful than Umar, to many of them, yes. Like that's how it works in their mind. And that's why I reject so much of this shit. And that's why in my mind, when they operating and talking about the definition of a sellout, somebody who works against the interests of Black people, I think it's worse. I think it works against the interests of Black people to have that ideology and push that ideology. So by that same standard that they're laying out, to me, Umar and a lot of them, they are the sellouts. You're a sellout. You poison. To me, you're poisoning the minds of Black people, got them thinking that they're less than, and they can do no more. And it's this strong, powerful system and structure over them that they can do nothing about. And then that's how Black people ultimately turn into what amounts to being like really hardcore socialists that think that the only way that Black people can come up is if the government, the structure, the system gives them something and keeps giving it to them. Like that's it. We can't thrive in a capitalist system. We can't do that. We're not capable of doing that. And if we try, you're gonna put the boot on the neck. So to just show that the boot is not on the neck, we're not gonna be able to compete and thrive. So we just need you to give us as much as possible and then continue to give it. Not just a one time, remember that reparations debate when it was going strong? He was like, it was a guy on there and he was talking about, don't just, give it to us. For us, our grandchildren, our children's children, on through the generations. It's like, yeah, that's the view. I have a hard time figuring out a different way to look at what they're saying, other than they're basically saying we're inferior and we need these white people to take care of us. That I mean that's when you follow their logic when you follow their arguments to the logical conclusion. That's what it damn near comes down to.
Racism is not about the attitude. It's about the control of resources and opportunities.
Tammy, that is not true. This is why we have to, we must get to know ourselves so that we can overcome that fallen state. Dr. Umar is evil for putting out a lie like that because, or lies like that, because people are going to believe in it.
Let's refrain from calling people names.
Okay, but he's not.
No, it's going to get worse. He ain't called him a beta male yet. And Umar ain't called him a coon yet, but it's coming.
We have to refrain, Sister Tammy, but at the same time, I think it's important that we understand the difference between the Negro and the coon. Sister Tammy, this is a very important distinction that has to be made. The Negro is innocent in his ignorance, Sister Tammy. As Brother Michael said earlier, some people make mistakes against the race unknowingly. If you make a mistake against the race unknowingly, that was a Negro. Negroes are innocent. They think white people are more intelligent. They think Jesus is black because they haven't been taught any better. But a coon knows better. But the coon voluntarily identifies with his oppressor because there is an agenda that he's looking to get filled. And the sad thing about Jesse Lee Peterson is he is too old to be cooning at this point in his life. And the fact that he claims to be a man of God doing the devil's work makes him a total hypocrite.
But Tammy, you know what I just want to add to that? To hear Dr. Umar and the other man to speak this way.
That's Michael.
Is Michael, sorry. To hear Michael and
I don't know his name either, Jesse.
Speak this way.
That's Michael.
Is Michael, sorry. To hear Michael and Dr. Umar speak this way is abnormal for men. Normally men, when I was growing up, they had logical mindset. But today's black man has an illogical mindset because he thinks like a woman. He has not overcome the spirit of the woman and returned to the logical mindset.
There is nothing more effeminate than a white man defending a white power structure against black people. There is nothing more effeminate than a black man defending a white power structure against black people.
Hey, why are you speaking? Hold on.
Yeah, I probably could hear that. Jesse was like, "Why are you speaking, man? I'm talking." Like Jesse, like soft shoe, lightweight, calling them some bitches. And Umar caught it, and that's when Umar basically tried to call him a bitch back, saying there's nothing more effeminate than a black man defending a white power structure. So they already lobbing it out there, calling each other, less than a man.
You are politically effeminate, Jesse Lee
logical in their mind.
You are politically
and
effeminate.
Women are illogical.
You are
in their
politically
mindset, right?
effeminate.
Why are you
defending the white power structure against your own people while you claim to be a man of God. You are a disgrace to your race, sir. You are a disgrace to your race.
And so normally the men with the logical mindset would bring the women and children to a logical mindset to help them overcome. But now the black men, not all but most, they think like their mothers and grandmothers. So they all think just like women, and that's why you can't get it right.
So indicting racism makes you a woman.
God, and that order is God in Christ, Christ in man, man over woman, and woman over
I'm
children.
not interested in a religious interpretation of racism.
Today's black woman is over the men. And
it is a mistake to use religion to interpret political phenomena.
That's why
we're going to take a quick break, and we'll come right back on the Tammy Mack Late Show on Fox Soul. Let's take a quick break. We'll come right back.
All right.
Here's a man struggling to pay.
I'll skip through the commercials. But yeah, that was just gold. I can't believe this was just like, damn, the cocktails with queens. Yeah, I can't believe this was just lying dormant. I never knew that Jesse Lee Peterson and Umar ever had a conversation with each other. This has been lying dormant on the internet for a very long time. It's like, goddamn. I paused her at a horrible time. I paused her at the worst time ever. Like, she looked like she taking okay, never mind.
Welcome back to the Tammy Mack Late Show on Fox Soul, where tonight the business of being Black are sellouts. Joining me is the author and activist, Reverend Jesse Lee Peterson, also Doctor of Clinical Psychology, Dr. Umar Johnson, and the president of the African History Network, Michael Imhotep. Michael, I do want to talk about I want to get into some cultural things that may be a sellout right now and talk about that. I was just looking at a video of the comedian Monique kind of explaining an interview between she and comedian Steve Harvey. And I think somewhere in that interview, Steve Harvey said, this is not about black or white, this is about green. And Monique said, and that's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to lose my integrity for the green. when Steve Harvey went to visit President Trump, the black community turned on him slightly.
Yeah, I can see how old this is. They talking about that. Like, this been lying dormant for a minute. I'm trying to see. This is like 2 years old. It don't say an exact date. Yeah, there to go, May 2021. This been lying dormant for a minute.
He got him back, but they definitely turned on him for making that visit.
Damn, how many of y'all remember that one? Black people in there laying hands on Donald Trump in a spiritual way, praying over his presidency. Wow, that's an image right there, ain't it?
To the president. Why? It would seem to me that if there is a president of the United States and you want him to do some things that are beneficial to your community, you would have to visit him at the least, right? Why was the black community so upset? And
here's the thing: want people dollar and do.
I'm gonna skip some of this. They just talking about, whether or not Steve Harvey was a sellout when he met with Donald Trump and stuff like that. It ain't really that important. But it is going to lead to a back and forth. But it was too much minutia in the details to where it just wasn't that relevant. So I'm gonna skip it.
It is important that we as African people always speak truth to power when given an opportunity. I didn't have an issue.
She asked Umar would he had met with Donald Trump had he been asked, and he said yes.
Issue with black people meeting with President Trump. But what I did have an issue with, as brother Michael is saying, is who we allowed to meet with President Trump. Steve Harvey has no history of political activism in the black community. Steve Harvey has no history of speaking up to the white power structure on behalf of black people. So although I would have had no problem with a black activist or organizer meeting with President Trump, I did have a problem with black celebrities meeting with President Trump. That was the issue. And
would
as
you
it
consider
relates
them
to
sellouts?
Say that again.
Would you consider them sellouts?
Who?
Steve Harvey and there's another one I'm thinking of. But
I wouldn't consider Steve Harvey a sellout as strictly as I would consider a Shaquille O'Neal, a Charles Barkley, and a Kendrick Perkins sellout. And the reason I'm drawing a distinction is whenever
Kendrick Perkins might have how the tides have turned. Kendrick Perkins is the one who used racism and white guilt to rob Jokic out of his third MVP. Kendrick Perkins is the one stood up for the black man Joel Embiid and got him an MVP when the white boy was supposed to win a third one. And I was happy for Joel Embiid. and it's not a good look if somebody as dominant as Shaq only got one in Jokic. Joker got 3 in a row. I know where Kendrick was coming from a blackness standpoint. But you calling Kendrick Perkins a coon? He used racism and white guilt to rob a white man out of his NBA MVP award. That's a man for the cause, for the people. What you talking about?
Shaquille O'Neal, Charles Barkley, and Kendrick Perkins open their mouth on issues involving black people, they always take the side of the white power structure. Whereas with Steve Harvey, I have seen some attempts by him.
Okay, y'all not about to derail me with a basketball conversation. The season about to start back pretty soon. Just did a pre-record on Jimmy Butler, who had his hair fried, dyed, and laid to the side. I don't know what the fuck that was about. But I remember I said on this show before that Steve Nash deserved both of those MVPs. I went back and looked at it, and Kobe should have won that MVP. In the history of NBA MVPs, it's been a lot of times where players didn't have a great record, but they had an amazing statistically dominant season, and they won it over somebody who had less stats but more wins. And Steve, the Phoenix Suns only won like 52, 54 games that year, in the Lakers won like 45. I thought the Phoenix Suns won like 63 games that year. That's why I was like, nah, you got to give it to him. But once I looked it up and saw they only won 52, and Lakers won 45, and Kobe out there with Kwame Brown, Smush Parker, and Luke Walton, I was like, oh yeah, they robbed Kobe. They robbed Kobe in 2006. No doubt. No doubt. Had to rescind that statement. Had to rescind that statement. But all right, somebody is saying 48 in 2006. You sure? All right, y'all not about to derail me with a basketball conversation. I just had to correct the record because I said something that I no longer agree with about Kobe getting robbed of that MVP. I just wanted to correct that one. But all right, let's get back in it.
To defend the integrity of Black people. It's not often. I'm not even going to say it's acceptable, but there is levels to the coon kingdom. There's levels to the coon kingdom. So even though they are all sellouts, you have your grade A coons like Jesse Lee Peterson and Charles Barkley.
It's levels to the coon kingdom. Let's go, Umar. Levels to the coon kingdom. This is too good.
Coon kingdom. There's levels to the coon kingdom. So even though they are all sellouts, you have your grade A coons like Jesse Lee Peterson and Charles Barkley. And then you have your grade B coons, which will be like a Kendrick Perkins and a Shaq. And then you have your grade C coons, which would be like a Steve Harvey. So there's levels to the coon kingdom. Say again.
But you do put him in the coon kingdom.
I would put Steve Harvey in the coon kingdom, but he wouldn't be grade A like Jesse Lee Peterson and Charles Barkley. And the other thing I wanted to say quickly, Tammy, with Kim Kardashian, that was a perfect example of racism on the part of the white power structure who says, I would rather hear a white woman articulate the issues of incarcerated Black females. Now you have hundreds of Black women who fight for the liberation of incarcerated sisters every day. I can run off organizations all day long, but instead of meeting with Black women who are in the trenches doing the work, we are instead going to let a privileged white woman articulate the issues for Black people. And Sister Tammy, that was dangerous that Black women supported Kim Kardashian being their mouthpiece, because what it does is it reinforces an old stereotype that Black people are not intellectually sound enough to articulate their own issues and that they need a white person to do it. We should never celebrate a white person being selected to represent our issues. It should always be someone who looks like us.
That should be a part of the code.
That should be part of the code.
Go ahead, Michael. Jesse, we're coming right to you. Go ahead, Michael.
Just a quick clarification. I didn't say I wouldn't go to meet with Trump. I said I wouldn't go by myself. I would go with a group of people a group of African Americans who have a political agenda.
Passport OG with the $10 cash app. Passport OG with the $10 cash app. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that.
Agenda, who have an agenda to get something for our people. I wouldn't just go by myself, and I wouldn't go for a photo op.
Absolutely. Reverend Jesse.
Yes.
You're a part of the coon kingdom, he says.
That's right. You know, you just heard the voice of a beta male. That made no sense of what the doctor said and what Michael said. It's
oh man. Hold on. You just heard the voice of a beta male. I'm trying to find it. Hold on. Here we go. I got it.
Beta. Beta.
Oh no.
Beta male.
Hey, hold on, no, Hoop. We not bringing that up today. We are not bringing that up today. We are enjoying this moment in history. This moment in history took place before Jesse Lee Peterson got outed, and we're gonna enjoy this moment in history because I never knew that him and Umar went back and forth on a panel. We got to enjoy this. All right, we're not gonna bring that one up. All right. We gonna enjoy this one. Get them rainbows out the chat. That was the white man lying on Jesse. All right. That was the white man lying on Jesse. We rebuking all that today. We'll call him gay tomorrow. We're gonna rebuke all that today and gonna enjoy this moment in history.
sad. No,
to get something for our people. I wouldn't just go by myself, and I wouldn't go for a photo op.
Absolutely. Reverend Jesse.
Yes.
You're a part of the Coon Kingdom, he says.
That's right. You know, you just heard the voice of a beta male. That made no sense of what the doctor said and what Michael said. It's sad to see that most Black people believe that they're all the same because of their color. They're not looking at them, their true self. They are a spirit created in the image of God. And they don't know that. They're going by colors. And so they're all in the same pot, headed down to the road to destruction.
Reverend Jesse, I want to ask you.
Donald Trump was the best thing that ever happened to Black Americans, because Donald Trump did not see colors. He saw colors, but he wasn't into the color thing. He was into what is right. And that's why he was able to help Black people more so than any other president that we have had in the last, I don't know how many years, right? Obama was the worst, by the way, but Donald Trump was the best. I call him the Great White Hope because
nobody can trigger them quite like Jesse Lee Peterson. Bar none.
He made America great again. Black people went to work. They started buying homes and starting families and things like that because of Donald Trump. But these people like Dr. Umar and Michael, they're into their color. They're in a fallen state. They're weak males, and they cannot see. They can't see that Donald Trump was a man of God. He was a conservative, Christian, straight white man who loved what's right. And he wasn't into the color. That's why Kanye West and other Black men and women who met with the president, they respected him because he was not into color. He gave Black university more money than anybody else, and all they did was misuse it. He did more to help the Blacks than anyone else.
We're going to take a quick break and come right back on the Tammy McLeod Show on Fox Soul.
Get out of there, Jesse. Get out of there. Talking about them HBCUs misusing the money. Some of the stuff, because this was 2 years ago, so some of the stuff they say don't exactly age well, but some of it aged really well. Because we know, through the whole Deion Sanders situation, that caused everybody to take a more in-depth look into the bullshit that HBCUs do. And so that statement by Jesse Lee Peterson, that one aged really well right there. Let's skip it on ahead. All right, here we go. We back.
The McLeod Show on Fox Soul. Tonight, the business of being Black is sell out. Sell out. I want to take something really, really basic and ask if it's a sellout perspective. Working for a white company, is that a sellout perspective, Michael?
Can I address what I was going to say before the break right quick?
Absolutely.
Go to that question. So a lot of people like to talk about the money and they say Donald Trump gave to HBCUs. Okay, that was Representative Umar Adams' bill. Okay, that bill passed, but another Black woman that doesn't get credit. White people take the credit for what she did.
Stop that bill passed.
That deal.
Yeah, I heard him in the back. Stop worshiping the Black woman, man.
Umar Adams' bill. Okay, that bill passed, but another Black woman that doesn't get credit. White people take the credit for what she did.
Stop that bill passed.
That bill passed the House of Representatives. That bill, please, sir, don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you.
Don't make
that bill passed the House of Representatives. It passed the U.S. Senate.
He said, "Don't make the Black woman your God." Jesse getting in their ass.
That bill passed the House of Representatives. That bill, please, sir, don't interrupt me. I didn't interrupt you.
Don't make
that bill passed the House of Representatives. It passed the U.S. Senate. It had a veto-proof majority in both the House and the Senate, which means even if Trump vetoed the bill, the Congress would have overrode his veto and it still would have become law. Okay, so some people want to give Trump all the credit for that. That was her bill, and she gets no credit for that.
And it was a bipartisan bill. It was going to pass through anyway.
Not only was it going to pass, it had a veto-proof majority. So regardless of what he did, it was still going to become law. Going to work for white people.
What he did right there a lot of the political wins, if you really break down the nuance and minutia of all the different levels and how it would it take to get something done, you could technically play that game with damn near everything to get passed. It's a lot of stuff that went through when a Democrat was in office that Republicans pushed for, and they got the right things in place and made the right deal, and then the Democratic president signed it. And if it works out and does well, then the Democrat takes credit for this thing that he was actually against, that he got politically worked into doing. I mean, you could play that game with so much stuff politically. So that's why it's. I don't even go down that route. I don't.
White corporations. I work for African American owned businesses. Somebody who's trying to take care of their family, be responsible, take care of their family. If they work for a white corporation, or a white company or something like that, I don't look at them. Okay, you're a sellout because you work for a white company. Now, if they are, I don't want to use certain terms. If they are putting on a minstrel show at work, see, that's something different. Okay, you can work for a white company but not put on a minstrel show. Yeah.
Quick question, and this one is for Umar. Does Sukihana put on a minstrel show? Does Sukihana put on a minstrel show? Just a question, just floating that on out there. Uh-oh, what happened to the... Okay, we got to fix that. But, all right. Oh, there we go. There we go. All right, cool.
Just because somebody works for a white corporation. The other thing is, when we look at these corporations, General Motors, I live here in Detroit. Lived in Detroit almost 50 years. I'll be 50 in June. General Motors, Ford, Chrysler. The money we spent on GM cars, all that stuff, we paid for all those jobs. So as far as I'm concerned, we should have jobs at all different levels of these companies that we spend money with, but bring that money back to the African American community.
You guys need to stop begging, man.
Bring that money back to the
black people.
Please, sir, don't interrupt.
Talk about
yield, Jesse.
Michael, stop begging.
Bring that money back to the African
Stop
American
begging, Michael.
and you utilize that money to help empower African American owned businesses also. Okay.
Michael, men don't beg. Stop doing that.
Please, sir, don't interrupt.
You're begging, man.
I'm holding back on you because I respect my elders, but
stop begging, Michael. What men do?
I'm not begging.
Men make things happen. They don't beg. They don't blame.
Jesse, you wouldn't know a man if you met one.
They don't want reparations. They made their way. The black man when I was growing up, they made their way. They didn't beg the white man for anything because they didn't.
It's not begging white people. Wait a second.
White men were superior.
If you go back to if you look at the Homestead Act of 1862, that was a massive land giveaway of 245 million acres of land that mostly went to white people. Okay, if you want to talk about how white people got over in this country, it was by stealing the land, reallocating the land, enslaving African people for 246 years,
Those are
passing laws that disenfranchised us, locked us out of voting. Then after the Civil War and after Reconstruction, 1877, because I always noticed black conservatives is two things you don't want to talk about. One, you don't want to talk about the compromise of 1870. No, you interrupted me.
All
don't
you're
say
doing
excuse
is making
you.
excuses.
No. Slow down.
You sound like a female.
Slow down. I know you catering to the white people that donate to your show. But there's two things that black Republicans don't want to talk. And I'm not against black Republicans. I have friends that are black Republicans. You don't want to talk about the compromise of 1877, which was the compromise between the Republicans and the Democrats. And the Republicans agreed to remove the Union troops out of the South that reinstituted the Jim Crow laws, and the Union troops were protecting the right to the newly freed slaves to a certain extent, because that's what the Democrats wanted. And you don't want.
Whenever you get pro-blacks on the ropes, they just start reeling off a bunch of historical fun facts.
to talk about the Lily White movement of 1928, which was the effort of Republicans to push African Americans out of the Republican Party and get Herbert Hoover elected as president in 1928. Now, if you want to have that conversation, we can have that conversation. It's not going to turn out the way you think it's going to turn.
Michael, it's time to stop asking for freebies. I understand the women doing that because
you ever studied the Farmers Home Association 1930?
I understand why women are doing it, but hold on, Michael.
You going to talk about the $26 billion that white farmers got from the Trump administration and black farmers got 1/10 of 1% freebies?
Michael, I understand the women doing
Jesse,
that.
that is a good question. That is,
he doesn't want to deal with that.
Jesse, that is a good question. So let's answer that question. You say that black people want freebies, but Michael just talked about a huge freebie for the white farmers. Are we not gonna? We're just gonna gloss past that?
There were black farmers who got money too.
They got 1/10 of 1% or $26 billion.
She asked me the question.
Hold on.
Hey,
they got 1/10 of 1% of $26 billion. They got $20.8 million.
Tammy, as I was saying, there were
now, granted, I don't know the minutiae and the details of that, but the one question I have is, how many black farmers was it? Because the math works out to where black farmers did get $20 million, but what percentage of I won't say black fathers. What percentage of the farmers were black farmers? That's what I would want to know with that. So he may very well have a point. I don't know the details and odds and ends within that. I really don't. So he may have a point right there if you're talking about the farmers. They got the bailout, they got 26 billion and all. That's why I will always say there are things politically that everybody fights for whatever gain they could get politically. So there are some things politically that black people can legitimately fight for and should legitimately fight for, and it all shouldn't get roped into begging. But there's some of it that is. There's some legitimate things we're fighting for. I'm not completely on Jesse's side where he tried to rope everything into begging, where there's all kind of stuff out there that people, that other groups get, and there's things out there that black people get when they take advantage of it. So I think the last remaining long-standing thing is reparations in the form of something with a big, red reparations logo on it. There are a lot of things that black people have gotten that if they called it reparations, then it would be reparations, but they don't call it reparations. But so it's like black people want it in a shiny reparations baggie. That's how that, so it turns into goofy things. But like if somebody like for example, when I reviewed the Dr. Tiasan Johnson 14, I think up to 16 point black male political agenda, it was a lot of stuff on there that I thought was legitimate, that I fully support. And if the right political work is done, and those things, some of the things on that list get done for black men, I think, hey, I'm with it. That's good. So so there's legitimate political work that can be done. So I would never deny that. And that's an area where Jesse would try to say everything they talking about is quit begging the white man. He not superior to you. It's like, but it's accurate. It's accurate, but the context matters. The parsing out the details of what we're talking about matters when it comes to that.
There were black people who received the money too, and what Michael is talking about happened over 100 years ago or so. And those things,
those days 2020 under Trump.
That just happened last year. That just happened last year, Reverend Jesse. Where you been?
There were black people who received it last year too, but you're not hearing about that. But what I want to tell you, it's time out for black people to stop begging. I'm sick of it. We can make our own way. Black people can make their own way if they get up and do it. That's why we have to overcome this cultural thing, because blacks who are into their culture, they think that all blacks are just like them, begging and blaming and whining and talking about 150 years ago and all that. Why not live now? The blacks didn't do that when I was growing up, especially black men. They need to stop begging for freebies. America is an amazing place, right? And whatever you want to do in this country, you can do it. You can make
Hold
it.
that thought. Okay, yes, that is true. That is so true. I'll have to agree with you on that, Reverend Jesse. Whatever you want to do in this country, you can do.
Yeah.
Dr. Umar, earlier you talked about, black men shouldn't date white women. Frederick Douglass was labeled a turncoat by many African Americans because he married a white woman. He was also criticized for his willingness to work with slave owners to seek a peaceful end to slavery. So what are your thoughts on that? Was Frederick Douglass a sellout?
Let me take the second point first, that Frederick Douglass was willing to work with slave owners to bring a peaceful close to slavery. That is incorrect. Frederick Douglass had always maintained that slavery would not end except with blood. If there was any collaboration with slave owners, it was in discussion, because Frederick Douglass at one time worked.
Hold on, real quick. Let me get to these. All right. East Coast Kev says, I don't rock with Umar, especially his comments about Deion Sanders. I haven't even heard his comments about Deion Sanders. He says, I don't rock with Umar, especially his comments about Deion Sanders, just because he left an HBCU that was trying to rob him. Where's the school, Umar? Right. Yeah, I remember at the time, before I knew all the details, I had some subtle criticism of Deion Sanders. I thought he should have stayed, but then once I got all the details, I was like, yeah, get out of there. Get out of there. I was like, yeah, you tried. You gave it a college try. You did. But no, shout out to you. Do appreciate you putting 5 on it. Brian Jeter in the building. Shout out to you. He says Jesse loves him some straight. Man, get out of there. I said we are not going there today. We are not doing that today. Get out of there. Danny Nightblade 45 in the building says reparations. Why ask people you call your oppressors to give you free taxpayer money for slave work you never worked and never experienced? If you follow the logic of what they say all the way through to where they, practically think white people are evils, devils, racists, and up to uphold the system of white supremacy and oppress them and hold them down, it just seems odd that you would, like, the mere fact that you would ask that of the country shows that you don't truly believe what it is that you're saying the country is about. If you truly believe what you say you believe, you wouldn't even be asking for that. You would, honestly, you'd be some type of political some radical rebel trying to destroy the system. Like, that if you follow what they say to its logical conclusion, they should all be just, they should be organizing radical groups to, in some way, shape, or form, try to destroy the system, to force, some type of crazy. I don't know. I'm not even about to get into that, but no, they don't. Their actions don't show that they believe what they say they believe. But all right, let's dig back into it.
Worked with William Lloyd Garrison, who used moral persuasion as the primary weapon to end slavery. Frederick Douglass fell out with him because he knew that trying to convince white people that owning black people was morally wrong was not going to end the institution of slavery. So whoever made that comment was incorrect. Now let's go to the first point, that his second wife was a white woman who he married at a very old age. Was it acceptable? Not to me at all. But what bothers me, and what I do consider to be another act of racism and discrimination against black women, is the fact that Anna Murray Douglass, who is the mother of all 5 of his children and his wife for nearly 50 years until she died of illness, who helped him escape from slavery to freedom, who came up with the escape plan, who made the escape outfit, who created the false free slave paper that he.
Okay, everything that he's saying is some solid shit, but made the escape outfit? There were like slave escape outfits? I have never heard of that. Like that was a thing? Like if I Google slave escape outfit, like I like what he was breaking down right there though. Keep it real. It's like you know, these are things I didn't know about Frederick Douglass' first wife, his black wife. I didn't know that. Slave escape. Hold up. Okay, it's not suggesting out. Oh, okay. I typed in out and then it finished it with fits. Okay, let's see. No, that looked like regular slave. I don't. Maybe was that how free black people dressed? I don't. Okay, sorry. I'm in my own. I'm doing my own thing. I just forgot I was doing a show. I got real curious about these slave escape outfits and what they look like. All right. So no, they didn't really give me nothing to work with. All right. Let's back up. Let's back up. He running down Frederick Douglass' first wife's rap sheet.
Douglass, who is the mother of all 5 of his children, and his wife for nearly 50 years until she died of illness, who helped him escape from slavery to freedom, who came up with the escape plan, who made the escape outfit, who created the false free slave paper that he used to pass from Maryland through Pennsylvania and up to New York. She never gets mentioned. She never gets mentioned. We always skip over Anna Murray Douglass, his lifetime partner, for the white woman who he married just a few years away from the grave himself. I don't accept it.
Important.
I don't accept it, Sister Tammy, but can we please show respect to Queen Mother Anna Murray Douglass?
Now I understand where Umar is coming from. If this is information I didn't know, I didn't never really dug into that. I didn't care about Frederick Douglass' wives, but that's they're good at giving us good historical fun facts. I did not know that. Okay, the black woman he was married to, he's married for 50 years, and she got all that stuff on her rap sheet, on her historical record. And then the white woman he married after he did his duty to serve, his people, God, and country, and after he carried that burden for all those years, can I please just spend the last 2 years of my life with a white woman, please? I didn't know it played out like that. I didn't know. So good historical fun facts, Umar.
Anna Murray Douglass, his lifetime partner, for the white woman who he married just a few years away from the grave himself. I don't accept it.
Important.
I don't accept it, Sister Tammy, but can we please show respect to Queen Mother Anna Murray Douglass? She is entitled to respect, and black people have to stop skipping over his real wife for the woman he spent the last few years of his life with.
Tammy, let me tell you this about the black farmers.
So do you think
farmers are getting a huge freebie from the USDA today, right? According to the Washington Post, $5 billion of Biden's stimulus package is going to benefit black farmers, but they still going to be begging. It's not going to satisfy them because it's not the lack of material things that blacks are having a problem with. It's the lack of moral character. Blacks are immoral, not all, but most. And
see, that's accurate. That's something I didn't know either. If Biden, got $5 billion to black farmers, I didn't know that.
Take a quick break. We'll come right back on the Tammy McLeod Show on Fox Soul.
All right, this is almost over. I'll put the link in the chat. Anybody want to come up and get a piece of this?
I'm just like, oh my God.
I wasn't going to do a panel. I was going to get in and out of here. Well, no, I'm shutting it down. A hard stop at 11. So we can do a brief panel at probably 11:10. I started at like 10:09. So I may probably just do a hard stop at 11. I mean, it started at like 9:09. So I'll probably do a hard stop at about 11:09. 2 hours. So the link is in the chat. If anybody want to come up and get a quick piece of this.
Lee Peterson and Dr. Umar Johnson. Michael, I want to talk about your podcast, the African History Network. What is that all about?
All right. East Coast Kev says Frederick Douglass is Umar's actual cousin. That's why he gives Frederick Douglass a pass. Great show today. Thank you. Thank you very much. I do know that he has claimed that Frederick Douglass was his, direct ancestor. They're blood related somehow. I do know that he speaks on that. But thank you for the super chat. Do appreciate that.
About
The African History Network show. Well, I'm on 6 days a week. We focus on educating, empowering, and inspiring people of African descent throughout the diaspora and around the world. We deal with current events, politics, history, a number of different things. People can visit my website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com for more information. Also, there's information on my website about my 9-week online course that I teach on Saturdays, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And follow me on my Facebook tab.
Tonight.
Oh, that's fine. Brothers and sisters who want to support the renovation efforts, Dallas, me, the 15th
Yeah, I
of May,
think that's
Los
pretty
Angeles.
much. I think that's pretty much it right now. Right now, I think they're about to just pub their stuff. So the link is in the chat room. Hold on, right there. That's where I'm at. The link is in the chat room. Anybody want to come up, I will gladly end this hard stop right at 11 a.m. But no, this is definitely a fun show. I found this gold, this content gold, just lying dormant 2 years ago, May 21st, 2001. Umar and Jesse Lee Peterson was on a panel together, going at it. So I had to review this and give my thoughts on this one. But all right.
The 16th of Fayetteville, Luke. Brothers and sisters want to reach me, DrUmarJohnson.com or 215-989-9858.
You know your whole schedule, your whole tour by heart. I don't even know. Were you reading that, officer? How do you know the whole
You have to know it by heart. Don't forget Hartford, Connecticut, June 26th, Nashville, Tennessee,
You looking up reading
July 17th.
Okay. You're selling America from the poison of
I started an organization called Bond, the Brotherhood.
I said we were talking about that today. Okay, you look kind of gay in that picture. That's the first time you ever looked gay to me. All right then. We should have knew from that picture right there. Something look gay about that one. I don't know.
Organization of a new destiny, and we are rebuilding the family by rebuilding the man, turning men and women back to God. And we tutor JesseLeePeterson.com. Bond men's conference down in Orlando, Florida.
All right, that's it. That's pretty much a wrap on that one. That's all we got on that one. Hold on, let me bring myself back in here. All right, the link is in the chat if anybody want to come up. I do appreciate everybody who supported the stream, but if you're going to come up, you better come up fast. But shout out to Danny Nightblade, East Coast Kev, Brian, I don't know if that's Jeter or Getter. He said Jesse Peterson love him, straight white males. We ain't doing that today. Cut it out. Shout out to East Coast Kev. Shout out to definitely Salty Balls. Shout out to Passport OG. Shout out to Osama Abdu. Shout out to SKC once again. Jamar 81. Shout out to Link. Shout out to everybody who supported the shout out to the Passport OG. Shout out to the Passport OG. And if you haven't seen that video, that was definitely a good one. Jimmy Butler. Yeah, I know I like the NBA, even though it's getting harder for me to watch it just because I don't know if I'm getting old and I fall asleep on basketball games all the time. So I don't even be motivated to watch them. I'll be asleep by the second quarter, especially when I try to watch the Lakers. And they come on at 10:30, it'd be too late. And it's funny, when I'm not watching the game, I could be up to 1. As soon as I watch a game, I just NyQuil. NBA done turned into NyQuil. And I enjoy the game. I just fall asleep on it. But excuse me. But yeah, Jimmy Butler during media day, because the season about to start. The season that I'm about to be falling asleep on, season about to start. Jimmy Butler showed his ass up with his damn hair whipped, fried, dyed, and laid to the side. I don't know what the fuck that was about. I don't know what the hell was going on there. Tony Golden in the building says, I think his wife used a ruse, I think that's right, to free him. That's why he had a slave escape outfit. I don't know what that RUSE word is. I just pronounced it ruse. I think that's what it is. I don't know what that is. I don't know. But the concept of slave escape outfit is a bit funny. It's a bit funny. I was trying to find the image of Jimmy Butler, but I don't got it. I don't got it ready to go. We don't need it. But I guess I'll look that up. I look up a ruse. See what that is. Nope, I didn't get nothing. Yeah, no, you didn't square the round hole of the slavery escape outfit yet. I think RM is informing me. Oh, no, she's just informing me that I pronounced it right. I still don't know what the hell it is. I still don't know what the hell that is. But all right. We won't be doing no panel today because I'm about to shut it down. Don't nobody come up. But where am I looking for? I'm trying to find the link. I'm trying to find the link to the one more thing. Trying to find the link, but no, y'all saw it. Yeah, so
welcome to Machismo TV, the ultimate destination for modern men seeking to upgrade their lifestyle. Subscribe to Machismo TV and Saul T-Balls. We stream daily from 12 midnight to 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the best male-centric content. Highlight reels without reviewing or providing any editorial bias to the content. We have done so much, with so little for so long, we are now qualified to do anything, with nothing.
All right, make sure y'all go and subscribe to Machismo TV. Make sure y'all go and subscribe to Machismo TV. They just recently got over 1,000. Subscribers. Make sure y'all go check them out, and make sure you go check out my pre-record that I dropped yesterday when I had to rant a little bit about Jimmy Butler having his hair whipped showing up to media day like that. But with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we are out of here. Peace. We gone.